So it's 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. This is the July 19th, 2022 meeting of the Landmark Preservation Commission. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's start with introductions of the commissioners. So we'll start with, well, I guess I'll introduce myself first. Hi, my name's Kelly Wemple. I'm an architect and I was nominated by the American Institute of Architects. Next, we have George.
Hi, I'm George Dennis. I have the honor of curating and restoring a landmarked house in Denver, and I was nominated by History Colorado.
Thanks, George. Erin?
Hi, I'm Erin Hummel. I'm a landscape architect, and I was nominated by the American Society of Landscape Architects.
Great. Graham?
I'm Graham Johnson, Preservation Project Manager, nominated by the Denver Planning Board.
Julie?
Hi, I'm Julie Johnson. I'm a Historic Preservation Project Manager, and I was nominated by the community at large.
Great. We don't have Gary today. Larry?
I'm Larry Sykes. I'm an architect, and I was nominated by History Colorado.
Erica?
Hi, I'm Erica Warzel. I'm an architectural historian and preservation consultant, and I was nominated by the community at large.
Anne?
Hi, I'm Ann Wattenberg. I'm an architect nominated by the American Institute of Architects.
Great. And Jen, can you introduce yourself as well?
Sure, I'm Jen Capetto. I'm Landmark Preservation staff.
All right. Great. So it looks like we don't have any meeting records on our agenda today for approval, so we'll go ahead and move past that. But at the beginning of every Landmark Preservation Commission meeting, we like to reserve some time for public comments. So if we could get those instructions up, great. If you're joining us by phone, please dial *9 on your keypad. That'll raise your hand, so we'll know to unmute you. If you're joining us via computer, just use the hand raise button in Zoom, which should be along the bottom of your computer screen. So this is for public comments on general preservation matters. If you want to provide a comment on one of our design review projects, we will have a separate public comment period later in the meeting for that. So are there any public comments at this time?
I don't see any hands raised. No.
All right. Do we, just so I know, do we have anyone joining by phone?
We have one person by phone.
Okay. We'll repeat those instructions then later. Okay, if there are no public comments, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So these are items that staff are recommending approval on because they meet the guidelines or have been deemed by staff to meet the guidelines. We've got, let's see, 6 projects on consent today. Were there any questions commissioners had? Anything you'd like to pull off consent? Nope. Oh, Anne, yeah.
I just would like to ask the commissioners a general question, and it's about application number 2022-COA-311, which
You're asking the commissioners a question, or
it's just, but yes, I am, because I want to know whether we should pull it off consent. I just want to ask a sort of general idea whether this is something that I'm the only one who feels like that, in which case I won't pull it off consent.
Can we do that? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Adam, could you weigh in on that? I just haven't seen that come up before.
The question being whether to ask commissioners if others want to pull it off consent?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a reason why not.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we could talk about a project without deliberation.
So again, it's not talking about the substance of the project. I think it's asking if others feel they should be pulled off consent.
Okay. Sorry to make a deal of it, Anne. Go ahead.
Right. For some reason, I actually felt like we had done this before, but maybe not. So I'm just wondering if any of the other commissioners have looked at this project, and can I ask the specific question about, and the question has to do with the configuration of the windows that are being proposed. If nobody else has a problem with it, I'm just going to leave it on consent.
Which project are you referring to?
Again, the project is application 2022-COA-311 at 958 Washington Street. in Quality Hill. It's for an egress window.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody have concerns about this one?
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. All right. Any other questions for staff? No. Would someone like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I can make the motion.
Great.
All right. I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 2022-ZLAM-131 for 314 West 5th Avenue, 2022-COA-174, 419 Franklin Street, 2022-TAXC-003 at 760 North Clayton Street, 2022-TAXC-004 at 2309 North Hooker Street, 2022-TAXC-005 for 227 South Lincoln Street, and 2022-COA-311 for 958 Washington Street.
Thank you, Graham. Do we have a second?
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
Oh, I think Julie said it first. We'll say Julie seconded the motion. All right, then I will go ahead and call for the vote. George?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
And Kelly? Aye. All right, so we have a unanimous vote and the motion passes. So if you're joining us today for one of the consent agenda projects, your project has been approved and feel free to hop off the call if you'd like. Now, before we hit design review, we do need to set a couple public hearings. So we're not going to hold the hearings today, but there's two different projects. So we'll need two separate motions. The first for 1410 to 1440 Larimer Street. Both need to have public hearings set because they are proposing demolition of more than 40% of the roof, which is a threshold that we have to require trigger of a public hearing. So would someone make a motion first for 1410 to 1440 Larimer Street?
Real quick, before we do, Kelly, I because of involvement here, should either recuse myself or just abstain since we're not actually discussing the projects. Maybe I can just abstain from the vote, but I wanted to confirm that with Adam and Jennifer.
That's right.
I'm deferring to Adam on that one. I think we can.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Sorry, Adam.
Sure. So because we're only setting the public hearing dates for these two projects, I'll need to recuse myself, but I didn't know if I need to abstain from the vote on the date or recuse myself at the point that the projects actually come through. It's kind of splitting hairs, but just wanted to confirm the correct action there.
Since this is just setting a future time, I don't think there's any reason to recuse or abstain right now.
I will vote for my future recusal then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks for pointing that out, Graham. I forgot that you had given us a heads up on involvement with this. All right. So now that we know how to proceed, who would like to make the motion?
Madam Chair, I'll
make the motion.
I think Erica was raising her hand. Go for it.
Sorry, Erica.
I move to set the hearing date, the public hearing date for August 16th for the project 2022-LMDEMO-348 for 1410 to 1440 Larimer Street.
Thank you, Erica. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, George. All right. There's no further discussion on the motion. I'll call for the vote. George?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
And Kelly? Aye. All right, so we have a unanimous vote, and the public hearing is set for August 16th of this year. So the next one, same area, same reason for a public hearing, demo of more than 40% of the roof. This is for 1413 through 1427 Larimer Street. Who's going to make that? Erica?
I can do it again.
Great.
Okay. I would like, I move to set for the public hearing on August 16th for consideration of the application 2022-LMDEMO-349 for 1413 through 1427 Larimer Street.
Thank you, Erica. Who's going to second?
I'll second.
Thanks,
second.
Erin. Appreciate that. All right. So let's vote. George.
Aye.
Erin.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Larry.
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
And Kelly. Aye. All right. So that public hearing is also set for August 16th, 2022. Okay, so next we're going to move into our design review projects. So you can see the process up on the screen right now. I'll go ahead and announce the item under review. Then staff will introduce the application and provide their recommendation. Then we'll invite the applicant to join us to present up to 10 minutes. Once we're done with the applicant presentation and questions from the commissioners, we'll open it up for public comment. So public comment periods are 2 minutes per person. And then we'll go ahead and move into deliberation and the commission will vote. So the first project up for design review today is project number 2022-COA-307, which is at 3254 North Osceola Street. So Crystal, go ahead.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Okay, so this proposal is for 3254 Osceola Street in the Packards Hill Historic District. This is a second review of an ADU that is proposed for this site. They are proposing to demolish an existing brick garage on the site, and the ADU will be located at the rear of the zone lot along the alley and includes new site work, a trellis, and a new spa. On that right side, you can see the site plan showing the new proposed garage with that site work. There we go. So here we can see the proposed ADU garage in context next to adjacent structures. The new garage is still proposed at 24 feet tall, while the primary structure stands at approximately 19 feet 6 inches in height. The secondary structure is set back of the rear of the lot and is approximately 4 feet taller than the primary structure. After more review with staff, we did notice there is a change in grade, as you can see in that bottom photo, from the street to the new ADU garage. So we are thinking it might be less visible from public vantage points than originally thought. And so that total height may not noticeably impact the primary structure due to that grade change in how far set back on the lot that new secondary structure will be. So here are the side elevations. The proposed secondary structure will have a gable on hip roof form, and will utilize smooth horizontal lap siding as the cladding, with a small portion to be stucco for a recreational climbing wall that will not be visible from public vantage points. Here you can see the design has been revised to better fit the district. So that previous version is at the bottom, outlined in blue, with the revised version in orange at the top right. And as you can see at the south elevation, the structure will have that single or double hung aluminum clad wood windows with trim surrounds that better match district configurations. And the horizontal wide belt trim, belt course scaling element has been moved down to be located at a typical floor to floor location that better delineates that first and second floor. The wide second floor deck has also been removed as it did not meet zoning requirements. So here again, you can see that previous version is at the bottom, outlined in blue, with the revised version in orange at the top. The first floor will have 2 garage overhead doors at the east elevation along the alley. Again, you can see that horizontal trim has been moved down, and the windows at the second floor better align at that alley elevation. The garage doors have also been altered to better align. They've added a panel on the smaller one, so it looks like it better aligns with the taller garage head door. Additionally, the entry and stairs at that west elevation have been revised, as you can see here, to meet zoning requirements. Articulation at the west elevation gable end has also been added that will utilize a timber and stucco design to better match the primary structure on the lot. The massing and height of the secondary structure has not been revised. However, the new ADU is located entirely behind the primary structure and is set back over 70 feet at the back of the lot. Additionally, the design has been adjusted to better fit the surrounding context and relate better to the primary structure. Therefore, staff is recommending approval.
Thanks, Crystal. Are there any questions for staff? No? All right, then is the applicant here to join us? Looks like we may have gotten them promoted to panelist. So when you're ready, go ahead and unmute yourself. You have up to 10 minutes. The time is yours. There's a timer on the screen there. Please start with your name and address for the record. And we can't hear you. So if you could just unmute. Maybe there's some technical difficulties going on.
That's strange. So Tim, it's probably at the bottom left of your screen. It might be at the top.
Hi, can you hear me?
Perfect. Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, super. My name's Tim O'Reilly. I am the builder of the project. I've got my architect trying to connect right now, Brian Daigle, and he's going to kind of give you a quick rundown of the changes we made or any questions you guys might have.
Okay, great. I just promoted him.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And Brian, you'll have to unmute yourself when you're ready.
I'm sorry. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I apologize for that. Okay. I'm basically, the presentation that was given was pretty clear. I'm just open for questions.
All right. And Tim, did you have anything else?
Nope. Good to go.
Okay. Okay. Well, that was quick. All right. I don't think we got either of your addresses for the record. If you could just give us that. It could be a business address too. Okay.
This is Brian Daigle. My address is 8330 East Quincy Avenue, number E103. It's my business.
And I'm Tim O'Reilly, address 30754 Upper Bear Creek Road, Evergreen, 80439.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, are there any questions for the applicants? No? Well, I think staff said it all then. No questions. All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone on the line who would like to provide a comment on this project? Now's the time to do so. Please use the hand raise button at this time or dial *9 if you're joining us by phone.
I don't see any hands raised, and the person who was on the phone is no longer on the phone, so they must have been here for consent.
Gotcha. Okay. If we don't have any public comments on this, we'll move into deliberation. All right, what did everybody think? We've seen this once before. Any comments?
I think the concerns that we had before have been answered quite adequately. It looks like it's much more appropriate with the neighborhood.
So I'll echo that. I think the concern was this one pushed the limits of being almost a standalone single family dwelling and now fits that kind of carriage house ADU mode and the guidelines based on some of that previous deliberation. So I agree. I think it looks good.
I agree. I think we had a big issue with the windows on the south elevation, since that would be the part that would be visible from the street, and it was very atypical of the district. So now that they have those two larger double hungs, it seems to fit much more with the district context. All right. Well, I see nodding heads. So who's going to make the motion?
Madam Chair, I can make the motion. Or George, go ahead.
Take a shot at this. Madam Chair, I move to approve application number 2022-COA-307 for the ADU at 3254 Osceola Street as per presented testimony, submitted documentation, design guidelines 4.3, 4.6, 4.8, and 4.18, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Thank you, George. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you, Julie. All right, I will call for the vote. George.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Larry.
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
And Kelly. Aye. All right. The ayes have it. Unanimous vote and the motion passes. So the project is approved. Next project on design review today is, let's see, 2022-COA-298 at 3012 Tampa Street. All right.
All right, so our next project is a mass form and context review for infill construction at 3012 Tampa Street. The lot is part of the Denver Housing Authority's redevelopment of the Platte Valley homes. The DHA has reconfigured the block, demolishing several buildings and dividing part of this block into new zone lots to be sold off for single family residential development. The DHA issued an RFP for the development of the lots and encourage projects that include ADUs to provide extra density, brick as a primary building material, and 20-foot primary front setbacks. There are no historic properties on this block for the applicant to use as a reference, and LPC has reviewed 4 new single-family projects on the Tampa side street of the former DHA site. LPC previously reviewed a mass form and context submittal for the site, along with the adjacent site at 3022 Tampa Street. The commission ultimately denied both of these projects, encouraging the applicant to restudy the solid to void ratio on the front facade, the window proportions on the side elevations, and the porch width. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the old design with the new. As you can see, the applicant is proposing to construct a new 2-story single-family residence. The proposed infill construction is an Italianate structure with a full-width front porch and rooftop deck. The secondary ADU is a flat roof form with an exterior staircase. The staircase has been moved to the interior of the lot based on previous commission discussion, and the ADU garage doors can be accessed via the alley. Based on commission feedback, the applicant has also standardized the side window forms of the primary structure. The primary structure has a setback of 20 feet, which is in keeping with the standard setback for infill on this block as stated by DHA. And the front porch encroaches into the front setback by 7 feet, which is also typical for infill on this block. The primary structure is entirely within the front 65% of the zone lot, while the ADU is located on the rear of the zone block. The side interior setback is 3 feet, and the applicant is currently proposing 2 egress wells that encroach into the side setback. These egress wells have been scaled down significantly in this application to comply with zoning standards and based on staff comments. Features drawn from Curtis Park's historic Italianate residences include boxing massing and a flat roof, a full width front porch, a decorative cornice, and tall windows. The entrance is offset, a feature found on other Italianate residences within the district. Features that distinguish the infill as new construction include the simplified porch design, simplified cornice and windows, and brick detailing around the windows and in the parapet. Sorry, I think I went too far. So the proposed infill has an overall height of 26 feet, 30 feet when measured to the roof deck stair overrun, which is within the height found within the district and in other homes approved on the DHA site. So I'll quickly show you the other elevations of the structure, which show the tall, narrow windows on the front facade. This is a simple cornice and the porch. And then we can see the rear and side elevations now with much more regular window patterns. And then finally, the ADU elevations. The proposed ADU carries through some of the design elements from the primary residence, including the flat roof and the tall, narrow windows. The exterior stair has been relocated, and the garage portion of the ADU is accessed by the alley, which is found throughout the historic context. In looking at the design of the structure, staff found that the proposed design met the design guidelines for mass forming context. The building maintains the proportions found throughout the historic district, as well as height and setback requirements. The building uses modern details to differentiate the boxy Italianate structure as new construction. In the previous submittal, the commission had made several comments regarding the building's solid to void ratio, especially around the upper stories and the parapet. The applicant has restudied the front facade, introducing a stronger cornice and adding brick detailing to the parapet to soften that massing. The applicant has also proposed a full width front porch, which is found on other Italianate structures in the surrounding historic context. The applicant has also spent a lot of time on creating a hierarchy of window proportions similar to those found in the historic context. The windows on the first floor are the largest, while the windows on the second floor are narrower and shorter. And finally, at the parapet, a brick detail connects the windows in the rooftop doghouse to the window hierarchy below. The Curtis Park RNO has reviewed this updated design and provided comments in support of the project, and these comments were emailed to the commission on Monday morning. Overall, staff feels that the mass form and context submittal meets the design guidelines. The overall mass and form of the proposed infill are compatible with district forms and is a modern interpretation of the Italianate form, which is guidelines 1.4 through 1.1 through 1.4. The window and porch proportions match the district patterns, guidelines 4.8 and 4.16. The building will be recognizable as current construction, guideline 4.5. And the proposed ADU is compatible with the location, mass, and scale of other secondary structures in the district, guidelines 4.15 through 4.19. I guess therefore Becca. Staff is recommending approval of the project. That was my last line.
Line, please. Okay, thanks, Becca. Great. Are there any questions for staff? No? All right, it looks like the applicant has joined us, so feel free to unmute yourself when you're ready. Please start with your name and address.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Great. My name is Nick Leggett at 2959 Franklin Street. One thing that I wanted to kind of go through is that I really took the last session's comments to heart and redesigned the entire facade to really be based on these really great examples of Italianate buildings in the district. Everything is detailed on the front facade down to a brick module, so it's all executable, and those proportions will not change. And the one thing I really wanted to talk about is the hierarchy, and how hierarchy is obviously a very important part of this style of architecture. And I really wanted to bring a lot of those hierarchies into this modern building, as that was obviously a comment that was brought up at the last review. So one notable thing is, obviously, as was already mentioned by staff, the lower floor windows are larger than the second floor windows. However, that patterning is still echoed in a recessed area that shows that echoes the lower size. I also highlighted the front entrance by adding a soldier course underneath those lower windows, which is also, you know, a way to kind of indicate this is the front door, which is very common in the district, as most windows don't go all the way to the floor. I wanted to make sure that it was, you know, very clear from a walk-by view that it was this was the front door and these were the windows. And in addressing that, the parapet that holds the roof deck, I really wanted to create and continue that patterning upwards, so that you get this repetition, which is also an incredibly common part of Italianate architecture within the Curtis Park district. The other feedback I got was porch width, porch roof width specifically. And so I modeled it very clearly from these three examples are great examples. There are 4 posts. It's a pretty, sometimes a skinny roof construction that definitely is not trying to be too prominent, but it's definitely apparent that it is functional, as well as a slightly raised foundation for the front porch, which is also incredibly common in the district. The materiality for the whole building is brick. The only exception to that is the front porch, obviously, which we envision to be black metal. And then the doghouse will be lap siding, which is common in the neighborhood. As well, the ADU will be lap siding to match that materiality. I also, the side windows, I got a comment on that they needed to be a little more regular and a little more grid-based. So I cleaned that up and made all of the windows similar sizes and based on a grid module on all faces of the building. So obviously, many of them won't be seen by the general public, but I wanted to make sure I addressed that comment. The other important thing I wanted to bring up about the doghouse is I wanted to bring the doghouse across the entire width of the facade, because I feel that not only in my previous attempt, but in several buildings in the neighborhood, I've found that doghouses can cause these very elegant, hierarchically designed buildings to feel a little lopsided. And so I wanted to bring that doghouse across the whole top. So it really forms, it's almost kind of like a cornice that is held back and addresses kind of the whole form of the building rather than just a way to get out on the roof. And I think that's all I have. So I'm open for questions.
All right, thank you.
And I just want to jump in. Nick, I'm sorry, I just realized that I started this on page 14. Do you want to run through any of these at all?
I would like to see, if you want to go through the hierarchy diagrams, that would be really helpful, because I think that's really important to show kind of my process through that.
Yeah. Am I there yet?
Keep going.
That one?
Yeah, so this is kind of, and I'm sure you've all seen this because this was in the submitted documents. You know, these Italianate structures are, you can almost divide them into columns and then kind of intensify the hierarchy based on these symmetrical volumes. So if you want to go to the next page. Creating a grid-based hierarchy. So this grid-based opening system, and the next page. And then all the openings get recessed. I raised the sills of the 2 lower windows to highlight the door. And I shrunk the F2 windows to, with the same thing, keeping their same proportions, but reinforcing the hierarchy of those differences between the two floors. The next one. And then recessing and filling in those parapet grid moments and reinforcing the horizontal datum lines with the cornice, the porch roof, and the extended front porch. And then providing brick detailing to these recessed zones in order to kind of really emphasize these shapes and repeat this hierarchy. I think that's all I had.
Sorry about that, that I
No worries.
started at the wrong place. Glad you had time.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I have a question.
Sure.
More out of curiosity, if you could tell me the purpose of that screen on the ADU by the stairs.
That is designed to kind of give some privacy between the ADU and the main house. As there are there are openings from a bedroom into the backyard and from the like living dining space into the backyard, just in case somebody wanted to use that as an office or as, you know, for their family coming to stay. The point of it is to be it's essentially this product called green screen, and it's an expanded, expanded metal mesh, and it would be planted. I tend to overplant things to make sure they happen, but overplanted with something so that basically becomes a green wall facing the house.
That's what I was envisioning. So just select your plants carefully.
Yes, I have been trialing many things in various projects lately, so I hopefully can make it work.
Great. Any other questions for the applicant? Yeah, Anne.
I have a question, and I know that we're in mass form and context, but and I understand that the entire main dwelling is clad in brick, but and oh, perfect, the side elevation, but there's a line that's shown exactly. Could you talk a little bit about this? And I know I'm jumping the gun because we're in mass form and context, and this is really a detail question, but I'm just kind of curious what it is.
There, obviously, that's a detail that I haven't exactly worked out yet. I was envisioning that we would highly detail this facade and there would be a seam, you know, a line. However, as I've been thinking about it after I sent in the application, I think it would just be meshed in to the rest of the brick on the side, so there would not be a joint. So these drawings are about a week outdated in my head. So I think it would actually be a very common standard corner joint on the brick there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Larry.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could talk about the setback columns on the front porch. Just the thoughts behind that.
I really wanted to kind of play with, because I think that in this architecture, in this Italianate style, specifically in Curtis Park, all of those posts are pushed so far forward. I wanted to kind of play with the balance of how that roof porch or the porch roof worked, and kind of create a little more opening to the sidewalk rather than it being this kind of closed off wall. It obviously is going to be a very public facade, and it's on a park and it's on a pretty busy street. So I kind of wanted to give the people there an opportunity to kind of use that porch a little more fluidly and effectively by pushing these posts a little bit further back. But I'm open to suggestions and, you know, and clarifications if needed.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Are there any comments on this project? Please use the hand raise button at this time if you do.
Yes, we do. Keith, you are welcome to start unmute when you are ready, but just give me a sec so that I can find the right timer. Okay.
All right, Keith Pryor, 2418 Tampa Street, chair of the Curtis Park Design Review Committee. So the original design actually was way more interesting in our design review period or feelings. The arched window on the first floor mimics that of other Italianates, even in this packet that Nick has referred to. And it is much more of a modern interpretation and really kind of reflects something a little bit more unique that we haven't seen on this block. I really want to address the hierarchical of windows on an Italianate. That is not something that occurs in Curtis Park. That occurs on our Queen Anne's, and that was what the commission was specifically referring to, was the Queen Anne that was a part of the overall dual submittal. They were not referring to that on this Italianate. If you look at the side of this project, you don't see a hierarchical of windows. You see the exact same windows on the first floor as you do on the second floor. And that is the case both for the front facades as well as the side facades. And so recessing these windows, making them smaller on the second floor, does not work within this district. They should be the same size. Yes, we have different floor heights, but the windows themselves in Italianates are classic. They're tall, they're narrow, and they don't have a hierarchical in the Italianate, just that of the Queen Anne. And so, unfortunately, I think Nick missed that comment, was going towards 3022 and not 3012. And I think that this needs to be corrected in this design. But other than that, it does meet the guidelines besides the windows, and I do urge the commission to correct that error. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments?
I don't see any other hands raised.
All right. Then let's go ahead and move into, well, unless Becca, do you have any recap? No, okay. Then we'll move into deliberation. What did everybody think about the project? In reference to the design guidelines. Maybe let's start with the windows, since that was just brought up in the public comment we got from Keith. Did anyone have any concerns about the proportions of the windows?
Madam Chair, I'll jump in. I think, staff generally in agreement with the staff report, and the word relatively consistent was used, as response to guideline 4.8. I think that the rhythm and the balance that we see in this submittal does fit much better with the context than I recall in the earlier mass informed proposal that we looked at. So, I agree with staff's assessment there, especially as a new infill property.
Thanks, Graham.
Hey.
Go ahead, Anne.
Oh, okay. I question a little bit guideline 4.3 with respect to the door looking exactly like the windows, because I'm not really sure that that fits the pattern. Usually, I think that in general, the sill of the windows, whereas the width I think is the same, the sill of the windows is generally higher than the sill of the door. And again, partially I think it's the rendering, which is making it a little difficult to look at, but it's sort of in terms of hierarchy and in terms of capturing, I think what, I just want to get the phrasing of this right, for guideline 4.3, the rhythm, sort of the rhythm of the I guess elements just looks a little bit off for me just because of the door.
So because the door goes all the way to the floor and the window sills are very short, you mean? Adjacent to it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe it's not the door that's the issue. It's the fact that the windows go all the way to the floor and the door isn't differentiated. Seems to me not to, I guess I would ask the other commissioners how they feel, whether or not that meets the criteria of 4.3 to use typical figures and sort of the typical rhythm within the building.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Erica, I think you had a comment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad Anne brought that up. So I actually, I agree with Anne that I think the two windows on the first floor at the front facade are just a little too close to the door. I don't mean physically close, but they're the way they look are, the door is still not quite kind of popping out as the entry, even though I know Nick was looking at that, the applicant was looking at that. I don't think it's quite hit the mark yet. And I would also say that I do agree with the RNO's comments about the second floor windows as being, as far as width goes, they're generally the same on Italianates. They might be slightly shorter than the first floor windows, but so I guess I'm not, I feel that that's also not quite meeting the design guidelines as far as the rhythm of the front facade windows on the second floor and the first floor in regards to the entry. Otherwise, I think the project looks really great. I just think there's a little bit of refinement that needs to happen with the windows on the front facade.
Sorry, George, were you going to chime in?
Yes. I had no problem really with the rhythm and form of the overall project, but what struck me, I guess, was a practical note that if the first floor windows are only roughly one brick length above the patio, that's asking for damage from strollers and all kinds of stuff that people put on patios. I think just maybe one more level of brick would protect the glass just a little bit more. It's a little close to the ground where it can be pretty easily damaged, I think. But that was the only comment I had on the window side of things.
I'll chime in. I generally didn't have any problems with the proportions of the windows. I do hear what the RNO is saying about, maybe we were referencing a Queen Anne when we made comments on the last proposal, since the design was very different than what's in front of us now. However, I do think that the applicant providing that recess in the brick so that that width matches the width of the openings on the first floor, to me, that does help those proportions relate. And so I don't have a problem with the fact that they're smaller on the second story than on the first. I also think it just differentiates it as new construction. I think this is a quite elegant solution to marrying, a modern approach with the proportions of the district and the historic context. It's clearly identifiable as new construction, but it has that kind of high quality detailing and the rhythms that's found in the district. So it doesn't bother me that the windows are so large on the first floor in relation to the door, because again, it is infill and function is not under our purview. I think proportion wise, it looks quite nice. And if there's comments about differentiating the door, I think that could happen in the detail level, since this is mass form and context only. That's my 2 cents.
I'll jump in real quick. I think this is a really elegant and refreshing interpretation of the proportions that we see so much that is kind of duplicative of historic patterns, to a T, that I see this as referencing the proportions and patterns in a new, more contemporary way, which I think is a refreshing thing to see. And I think this is, going to be a beautiful example of a contemporary structure. So I'm in support of the staff's recommendation.
I'd like to just kind of add on to my previous comments in that the two window issues of the first floor and second floor are what kind of immediately jumped out to me about them, but I don't find them to be, I don't find them to be problematic. And, you know, I hear the RNO also expressing concern about kind of seeing the same sort of design over and over. And I do see that, you know, I agree with Kelly and Aaron's comments about this kind of standing out as its own design interpretation of Italianate in a contemporary way. So I am fine to support this phase of it, and we'll just look to see it, how the details work out, especially maybe around the door.
Yeah, Larry.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Aaron and Kelly's comments, and I think I also agree with the staff report. I don't feel that the window proportions are bothersome in the context of this being a contemporary interpretation of Italianate. So yeah, and also just to reference my kind of earlier question to the applicant about the setback columns, I actually think that is also part of the kind of exciting and maybe subtly intriguing interpretation of this historic context. So yeah, I'm happy to support this as presented.
Great, and good point. Pointing out the porch, Larry, I agree with you. I think that's pretty exciting contemporary interpretation. I mean, they've followed the proportion, you know, of a full length porch like a lot of the Italianates have, but kind of just played with where the support is. It's kind of cool. Any other, so we talked a lot about the windows, there's discussion on the porch, anything else? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll do it. Madam Chair, I move to approve application number 2022-COA-298 for the mass form and context at 3012 Tampa as per design guidelines 4.1 through 4.5, 4.7, 4.8, 4.15 through 4.19, character defining features for the Curtis Park Historic District, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Thank you, Aaron. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, George. All right, then if there's no further discussion on the motion, I'll call for a vote. George.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Larry.
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Kelly. Aye. All right, we have a unanimous vote, so the motion passes and the mass form and context is approved. So we'll see you back for design details. All right, so that was the last project on design review today. Jen, is there any discussion or business items?
Nope, that's it.
Great, you guys, it's like a record meeting for us.
I think that was the shortest ever that I've been in.
All right, well, I won't make it any longer. So I'll go ahead and close the meeting.
1:53.
At 1:53, thank you, Jen.
See you, everyone.
All right, bye.
See you. Stay cool, everyone.